September 23 for our closed session. Any public comment in the audience? It doesn't look like it. Anybody online, Retta? All right, I will close the open session. Good evening, thanks for your patience. We'll call to order the Yreka City Council meeting for September 5th, 2023 at 6:38 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. And we did have closed session prior to the meeting, and there is no reportable action at this time. And Councilman Davis is absent this evening, and so he will not be here for the whole meeting. All right. So we'll move on to the special presentations and/or announcement. This time slot is for informational presentations, appointments, and awards to be presented by the city council or to the city council. Any special presentations, Mr. Ledbetter?
No, Mr. Mayor, there are none tonight.
All right, thank you. Move on to item number 6. This is public comments. Public participation is welcomed and invited at all city council meetings. This time is set aside for residents to address the city council on matters listed on the consent agenda, as well as other items not included on the regular agenda. If your comment concern an item noted on the regular agenda, please address the city council when that item is open for public comment. Please the city requests that persons addressing the city council refrain from making personal, slanderous, profane, or disruptive remarks. City council members, when recognized by the mayor, may ask clarifying questions of the presenter, but no action may be taken by the city council during public comment section of the meeting. Under the Brown Act, the city council is prohibited from discussing or taking action on any item not listed on the posted agenda. This time is set aside for residents to address the city council on matters listed on the consent agenda, as well as other items not included on the agenda. If your comments concern an item listed under the public hearing or new business section of the agenda, please address the council when that item is open for public comment. Please speak into the microphone from the podium. The podium electronically adjusts up and down to accommodate the speaker. Please state your name for the record prior to providing your comments. Please address the council as a whole. If you have documents to present, please provide a minimum of 7 copies. These become public record. Please limit your remarks to 5 minutes. Since council is unable to take action on issues not on the agenda, your matter may be referred to staff for follow-up or placed on a future agenda. Public comments period is not intended to be a question and answer period or conversations with the city council or city staff. Any public comments at this time? Come on up.
Hi, I'm sorry about my appearance. I didn't really mean to even come tonight, but here I am. Anyway, I'd like to talk to the city council about the cemeteries. I've talked to you before.
I'm glad to state your name.
Pardon me.
State
Oh,
your
I'm
name
sorry,
for
Donna Batchgalupi, Little Shasta Valley. I'm here for Shasta Valley Cemetery District. Since I've talked to you before last time, we've had people actually coming in and running over the headstones and knocking them down. And we're having a lot of problems in the cemetery. And quite frankly, we could be, this is off the top of my head, but you could see our cemeteries going out of business because of the lack of people burying their loved ones now. I would like to bring some numbers to you next time and maybe do a presentation so you can see how much trouble we're really in. We've been talking about this for years. As you know, we tried to get Measure L passed so we would have $7 a year per resident in the district, which would have probably kept us afloat, but we are sinking fast. We have 8 cemeteries under our little nest. And as I say, we are sinking fast, and we're going to need the city and the county to step up. because something has to be done, or I'm not sure what we're gonna do. We've had vandalism, we've got needles in every cemetery. We have 2 employees taking care of 8 cemeteries. It's non-functional that way. We just can't stay up. We've got probably 75 trees that need to be taken down. We have no money to do it. We're in trouble, and we're going to need the city and the county to step up. And we've got all these other programs going, but none of them go to the cemeteries. So we'd like to do a little presentation when you have time so you can actually see our numbers and how bad it's getting before we go under. Thank you.
Ask a question,
All right.
Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
Do you guys oversee the Yreka Cemetery, the one over there on Foothill?
We have, we have the Catholic cemetery over there that's no longer a Catholic cemetery, it's a public cemetery. We have Evergreen, we have the one out at the airport, we have the one out in Little Shasta, we have Grenada, we have Edgewood, and we have Folks. So we're
The one's not, the upper one on Yreka's not.
the old cemetery,
Old
right, and the
cemetery.
old cemetery, which we don't have the manpower to keep that.
I was just curious if you oversee that one.
Yeah, we
I was
do.
just there this weekend is why I was walking.
Yeah, and we have a burial moratorium on that one because we don't know where people are buried. So we can't bury new people in there. We don't know where people are buried. So there was supposed to be a forensic survey out there years ago, but that fell through and we didn't have the money to pay for it. So anyway, I'm hoping that we start getting some help.
I'd like to see the presentation. No, that's not-
Just so you know the numbers, so you're aware of actually
Yeah.
where we are. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
And we'll get with Mr. Ledbetter probably to give you a call to set that up, Donna. Would that be okay? Yeah, we'd definitely probably like to hear from that, as Mr. Craig said. So we'll get together with Mr. Ledbetter and have him in touch with you. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Steve Bradford. I'd like to bring to your attention the smell right over here by the library. I drive by there with my open Jeep every time I go to mow lawns and the different properties I take care of, and it smells like an outhouse right on the corner, right? I've literally seen the guy who's camping out at the library standing in the street at the corner across the street, facing the intersection with himself hanging out, taking a piss. And that was, I think I've brought that to your attention a few weeks ago. And, but he's still camping out at the library and it smells, I go by with my open Jeep. I went by there yesterday and I went, geez, it smells like an outhouse. He's there 24 hours. So, excrement, liquid, pee, poop, it's all happening. I believe it smells like it. And then, Mr. Mayor, I sent you a picture of a guy across the street and it was from far away. So you had to zoom in on it to see him. But he was a guy walking up to the homeless hill up there with his pants down to here, his underwear down to here. And the only thing covering himself was his long t-shirt. And I'm just saying, how low do we have to go before we start putting an end to this California initiative to instigate socialism into our society? And that's really what it is. California is not our friend. Everything about California is communistic. And you have to start realizing that and fighting back against it versus just abiding to their policies and different things that they keep coming up and making you guys so busy that you can't do anything else but deal with what they hand out. You and the supervisors, it's all the same. We need to start talking to other cities, find out what other cities do to deal with their homeless so we can all work together as one big power against the communist movement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment at this time? Okay, I will close the public comment section. And we'll go into item number 7. This is the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and non-controversial and will be enacted by one motion unless a member of the council wishes to remove any item for discussion. A, approval ratification of payments issued from August 7th, 2023 through August 25th, 2023. B, approval of minutes of regular meeting held August 15th, 2023. C, approval of minutes of the special meeting held August 17th, 2023. D, motion authorizing the city manager to execute a professional service agreement with Nichols, Milberg, and Rosetto AIA and Associates Incorporated in NMR for architectural engineering and construction management services for the Yreka Volunteer Fire Department new fire station project in the amount not to exceed $1,118,560. E, motion authorizing the city manager or his delegate to enter into information technology professional service agreement for $133,684.32 with Network One for fiscal year 2023 and 2024. F, adopt resolution 23-40 improving requests associated with a special event known as NorCal Cross to be held on March 2nd, 2024 at Greenhorn Reservoir. G, adopt resolution 23-41 approving Greenhorn Disc Golf Tournament on October 14th, 2023 at Greenhorn Reservoir. H, adopt resolution 23-42 of the Yreka City Council of the City of Yreka authorizing the city manager or his designee to apply for the California Strategic Growth Council for a Community Resilience Center Development Grant and to execute all related documents if awarded. I, motion to adopt 2023-43 of the City Council of the City of Yreka, State of California, authorizing the filing of a rural tribal assistant pilot program grant application for up to $320,000 utilizing 2022 funds with an opportunity to apply for up to $360,000 for 2023 funds. J, waive full text reading of all ordinances on agenda. Ordinances shall be introduced and adopted by title only. The recommended city council action before you is the motion to adopt the consent agenda of the city council of the City of Yreka as presented. What are the wishes of the council?
This is Councilman McCoy. So moved.
I have a motion by Councilman McCoy. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second for Councilman Kaeg. I'll do roll call. Councilman Kaeg.
Aye.
Councilman Baker.
Yes.
Councilman McCoy.
Aye.
And I, Middleton. And the motion passes 4-0 with Councilman Davis absent. Okay. This is item number 8. This is our public hearing. That's public hearing protocol. The mayor will describe the purpose of the public hearing. City staff will provide this staff report. City staff will respond to questions from the city council. Mayor will open the public hearing. Public wanting to comment will come to the podium, provide the city clerk with their name, address, and provide their comments. Mayor will close the public hearing. City council will deliberate and act on the item. Emily, are you coming up to describe, or is it Jason?
Good evening, council. Before you today, I bring our 2023 master fee schedule update. City staff have prepared a master fee schedule update for 23-24 fiscal year. The master fee schedule is a finance planning document that contains all fees associated with applications and licensing of various uses, lots, structures within the city limits and the City of Yreka. The master fee schedule as part of our budgeting process. We brought you this last year to get us up to date. We hadn't updated our master fee schedule in quite some time. As part of our 4 goals, citywide goals, one of them is fiscal resiliency. And by staying on top of these fee schedules, we see small increments, not large jumps, because we haven't updated them in a long time. It has become increasingly important for local governments to be able to recover certain operating expenses through the collection of user fees. Some of these fees have actually gone down due to the hard work of our planning department in conjunction with Pace Engineering. We've been able to streamline, for example, boundary line adjustments. So there are actually, let me get to the right page. One more page. There were actually 11 decreases in our fee adjustment. So you'll see those reflected on the table provided. Some of them as much as 48% decrease. So the more efficient we become, the more apt we are to be able to reduce those fees and make them reasonable while still covering the city's costs to do those items. CPI in January was 6.4%. So you will see those increases on certain items, as that is a reflection of just cost of business. The objective was to adjust the current fee structure to better reflect services provided by staff, as such, staff is recommending the city council approve the attached resolution.
All right. Okay, Emily. I guess I'm sorry, I skipped the one part where it says I'll describe it. She described it. This is for you said 2023, but on the agenda title it says 2024 master fee schedule update. So is the agenda title correct, but below says 23-2024 fiscal year?
I missed, it's the 24
Okay.
master schedule.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is for the 2024 master fee schedule update for our public hearing. Thank you. I didn't know if I was reading that wrong. Okay. Okay, I will open up to the council for questions. No questions? No questions? Okay. I will open up for the public for any comments. Let's go into public for the 2024 master fee schedule. Anybody from the public have any questions or comments? You come to the podium. Okay, nobody. Okay, I will close the public hearing. Okay, now we will elaborate and act on the item. Okay. No other questions or comment. The recommended city council action is the motion to adopt resolution 23-39 of the city council of the city of Yreka, adopting an updated comprehensive fee schedule and adopt the finding that the project is statutorily exempt from CEQA.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make that motion.
All right. I have a motion from Councilman Baker. Do I have a second? I have a second.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. I have a second from Councilman McCoy. I'll do roll call. Councilman Kaag.
Aye.
Councilman Baker.
Yes.
Councilman McCoy.
Aye.
And Middleton, aye. Motion passes 4-0. All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Jarrett. So are you up or did I miss something?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, member of the council, as to item 9, new
Okay.
business. Staff would like to make a request that the city council entertain a motion to add an additional item as item 9E. And that item would be an appointment to the volunteer fire department.
Okay,
That item would need to be voted on pursuant to government code 54954.2B2 as an item coming up after the posting and needing immediate action. This is essentially a an appointment of an essential member of the fire department. And what Mr. Ledbetter has just handed to you is the staff report on that item. At this point, we need a motion, second, and a 2/3 vote in favor of putting this onto the board, onto the agenda, which
Okay.
would mean 4 votes.
And you want to add that into item
9E.
9E, is that what you said? Okay, 9E.
Mr. Mayor, and then we
Yes.
would like to, if approved, go ahead and move to item 9E immediately.
Okay. So we have a recommendation from our city attorney to add this item to 9E and then move the item to 9E. This is for the appointment for Caleb Lostolat, yeah, for the volunteer fire department. What are the wishes of the council?
I'd like to make a motion
Okay.
to consider this item that was not on the posted agenda and add it to our agenda.
I have a motion from Councilman Baker to add the agenda item.
I'll second
A
it, of
second?
course.
Okay, I have a second from Councilman Kaeg. I'll do a roll call. Councilman Kaeg,
Aye.
Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Councilman Pro Tem McCoy,
Aye.
and I. Motion passes 4-0 to add this item, and we'll move on to 9E. And this will be
I'll go ahead and introduce,
Mr.
thank you,
Mr.
Mr. Mayor.
Ledbetter.
This is the city manager, Jason Ledbetter. I'm gonna go ahead and introduce Chief Lemos, and then just real quickly, I have never personally met Mr. Caleb Lostolat, but certainly I think we all know his father here, YFD notoriety, BJ, who is currently the assistant chief, but has been volunteering for I don't know how many decades with YFD. So this is a very momentous occasion for not only the city, but obviously the Lostolats themselves. And we're definitely honored as to what's about to happen. So without further ado, if Chief Lemos wants to step forward.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate that. City Council, thank you for your indulgence on this, for getting it on this evening. We were counting on it. And Caleb's here tonight with us. And another really cool thing is that he's the 3rd generation in the family. So you guys probably knew his father, Bob, who was a teacher, was a fantastic fireman. And I have tremendous respect for him. So tonight I'd like to introduce Caleb Lostolat. He's a graduate of Yreka High School this past 20, right? Yeah, 23. So he's going to be attending the COS Fire Academy here in October, and we're looking for great things from him. I've seen him since he was just a little guy hanging out at the station. So I've seen him grow up into a fine young man, and he'll do as well, I'm sure. So without that, I'd like to have his father, BJ. BJ's our assistant chief, and have him come up and if you don't mind, pin on his badge.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds good. BJ, come on down.
And BJ, if your wife wants to have a better vantage point, she can certainly come down. If you need to come down.
Come on up, you can get a better shot.
You can have shake my hands. You're required to take the walk.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for service to us. You get everybody a round of applause.
Yeah, thank you again.
Thank you, Chief. And thank you again, Caleb, for joining our department. We appreciate, and the city of Yreka, our citizens appreciate it as well. Okay. Now, throw me all off. So now we're back to 9A. This is me. So the city council interviews of applicants to the planning commission to fill a vacancy seat. 2 candidates will be interviewed by the city council for 1 vacant position. On the Yreka Planning Commission, term expires March 31st.
Sorry,
Oh,
Mr. Mayor,
Oh.
I'm sorry. If you guys can just make the motion, I guess, to approve the volunteer.
oh, I'm
fire-
sorry. I
fighter.
thought we did that already. Oop, okay. Okay, never mind. Going back. Okay. So 9E, the approval of Caleb Loslott to the Yreka Volunteer Fire Department. What are the wishes of the council?
Councilman McCoy, I'll make the motion to very happily approve Caleb Lost-a-Lot as our newest volunteer fireman for the Yreka Fire Department.
I have a motion from Councilman McCoy. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second from Councilman Kaeg. I'll do roll call. Councilman Kaeg,
Aye.
Councilman Baker,
Aye.
Pro Tem Councilman McCoy,
Aye.
and I will be aye. Motion passes 4-0 for approving Caleb Loslott for the Yreka Volunteer Fire Department. Thank you again. All right, now back to 9A. So this is titled, this is a city council will interview the applicants to the planning commission to fill a vacancy seat. 2 candidates will be interviewed by the city council for 1 vacant position of the Yreka Planning Commission with the term expiring March 31st, 2026. The applicants being considered are Don Marie Autry, Chris Lazaris, and I forgot to add my new seat here. Sarah, I'm sorry. I don't have it here. Oh, and Sarah Chafee, I'm sorry. All right, Mr. Ledbetter.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Yreka City Council. This is Jason Ledbetter, the city manager for the city of Yreka. And yeah, we did have the adjustment. We do have 3 candidates here to be interviewed for there's only 1 open position on the planning commission. We have filled or went through this exercise a few different times over the last year. And I am going to hand it over to city attorney, Mr. Jared, to kind of walk us through how we're going to approach it. This evening, it's going to be slightly different as to how we have you guys make the motion and make the vote. We think it will be a very easy way to go about this process. So without further ado, Mr. Jared.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So before you. Is this on now? So before you are some questions, as you said them, had questions in the past. It'd be my recommendation to ask the same questions as to each candidate. If there are additional questions you would like to ask, that is up to the mayor to allow such questions. It is my recommendation though that you allow each applicant to answer those questions. As for the voting process, there are various ways of doing the voting. Because this time you have 3 candidates for 1 position, it'd be my recommendation to use a ballot system. Those ballots have been presented to you. Each ballot has your name on it. And this would not be a secret ballot. The tabulation would then be announced after the balloting is done. It would makes for it's one way of doing this process that makes for a smooth process to happen. Because there are 3 candidates for 1 position and we have a 1 member tonight missing, there can be a situation of a tie vote, a 2-2 tie, when it comes down to a final appointment. A 2-2 tie results in no vote or nothing passing, not a passing of a vote. So then subsequent votes could happen until you come to a consensus, or you could put this over until you have the full council here. The manner of voting could be done as a first round of your top two votes. And then if that does not produce a clear candidate with 3 votes, then you would go to a second round voting where the 2 top vote getters of the first round would then be voted on by the 4 council members to hopefully achieve someone who would obtain 3 votes. After that first round of voting, the votes would be tabulated and announced as to how each council member voted. And so this would all be out in the open as to how the votes were cast.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jared. Do
Mr. Mayor.
you have any questions before we get started?
I would
Council Baker?
very much like your consideration of adding a question for each of the candidates to answer. And I'm proposing the question, how many planning commission meetings have you attended within the last year?
As in for public when they come, if they've come to them. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will allow that question to be added from Ms. Baker.
Thank you.
More than the last, however, 12 months.
Yeah.
Right. All right, we'll open up for the interview process. So I will just let's go by this list that is right here, and we'll have Dawn Marie Autry go first. Okay. So we'll start off. I'll go with Councilman Cake. You want to start off the first question
Oh.
for Dawn Marie Autry?
We're doing it that way.
I think
We're
I
reading them.
I don't think I'm not reading mine. They're yeah.
However you want to do it.
No, I like all of us to answer or ask questions.
That's fine.
Yep.
Number 1 then. Why do you want to serve on the planning commission, and what do you want to view as being the duties of the planning commission? And let me try that again because my microphone was not on. Why do you want to be on the planning commission, and what do you want to view as being the duties of the planning commission?
I want to be on the planning commission because I would like to help make our city better. I have some really good ideas and I would like to help implement them. I really am interested in fire, safety, homeless, and just fortifying our city and working on an evacuation plan for a big fire that could very well happen to us.
Hold on 1 second. Okay.
Though you may be passionate about a particular land use
Oh, you're gonna
matter.
go? Okay.
I was just gonna, you're going in.
Oh, it doesn't. I didn't know I was gonna go around. Go ahead.
Go ahead. that's
Nope.
fine.
Good.
Though you may be passionate about a particular land use matter, can you apply the law and codes presented to you in evaluating a project? And then when it comes to land matters, I can repeat it too if you want. When it comes to land matters, do you have any personal item you are interested in?
Yes, I can be absolutely correct with the law. I have attended school for law. That was my passion. DOJ, absolutely. I'm all for the letter of the law and exactly how it is. And you know, the only thing that I'm interested in really checking out is our land use for the homeless people. I'm really about that.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Councilman Baker, do you want to go to question number 3?
Okay.
I'll change up a little bit.
If a developer comes in and presents a plan that you think is bad or is not compatible for the location, but but it technically meets the code, what would you do?
I would go to my resources. We have a chain of command. I would go to my upper person and explain my concerns. I would make sure that I research the law very clearly, considering that. And I would ask my person, the chain of command above me, to go with me to talk and explain this. I would ask questions and I would find answers. And if it's the way it is, then that is the way it is, and that's fine.
Thank you.
All right, it's my turn. If you were to be appointed, are you aware you have filing obligations disclosing your economic interests annually, a 2-hour ethics training course every 2 years, a monthly planning commission meetings that can take up to 2 hours?
Yes, I am aware. I have done the ethics plan, the training already, and I will do it again. It's not a problem at all. And I'm already here for all the planning commissions as well as council, so I'm fine. That's fine.
All right, thank you. Okay. Councilman Katie, you want question number 5?
Planning commission involves coming to a decision supported by facts presented in the hearing and coming to the decision based on the evidence presented. How would you make a determination on complex land use issues during public hearings?
The public hearings, at public hearings, you would have all the information that you would need by law, what the law says. And you determine what's right, again, by the law, and listening to everybody and working with everybody. And I have done that multiple times throughout my career. I ran a kitchen and a crew, and I was perfectly able to cooperate with them. So I believe that I could do this job.
Okay. Councilman McCoy, number 6 question.
What do you believe that you would enjoy or like about being on the planning commission?
I enjoy that we all work together. So far, I've seen all of the planning commissioners work together to figure out a plan for the city, which is awesome. And the community comes together. That is awesome. A blended family almost. And I like that we care about our city and it matters. And that matters to me. That's why I'm here. Is my city matters more than anything.
And you get to ask the question you
Okay.
added, Councilman Baker. Number 7.
Ms. Autry, how many planning commission meetings have you attended within the last 12 months?
Every planning commission that we have had since January. And before that, I was told I was not allowed to go to the planning commission meetings, or I would have attended every single one since 2008, just as I have the city council meetings. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay. Call down Sarah Chaffee. Come on down. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, I'm gonna switch it around and we're gonna go to Councilman Baker for question number 1. Ms. Chapin.
Thank you. Why do you want to serve on the planning commission? And what do you view as being the duties of the planning commission?
Sure. So I am actually newer to Yreka, and as I'm getting settled here, I'm really excited about integrating into this community. I've lived in a lot of different communities all over the world, but I'm settling here and I'm very excited. So I find this to be a fantastic opportunity to get involved and understand and know the community that I'm going to live in. I'd love to be a part of the process, especially as Yreka grows and adapts to oncoming changes. I think some of the duties that the planning commissioner and the whole commission in itself take part in is land use, economic growth, water supply, education, recreational use, social use. So I'm very excited to, be a part of the development and growth of this community.
Thank you.
Councilman McCoy, question number 2.
Though you may be passionate about a particular land use matter, can you apply the law and codes presented to you in evaluating a project?
Sure. I'm very familiar with working on projects with groups. I've done community buildings. I worked with groups to collaborate, creating community buildings and figuring out the uses for the buildings, figuring out the finances, working as a team with opposing views, working as a team to figure out where we can fill the gaps. I understand the importance of following the zoning laws and the policies, and kind of filling in the gaps where need be.
And then you've alluded to this, but I need to ask it to be fair to everybody here. When it comes to land matters, do you have any personal item you're interested in?
As a newer person to Yreka and seeing everything, I find this city to be incredibly historic, and I think that's such a charm and unique and beautiful. And I would love to preserve that charm and kind of restore what we have to kind of make Yreka unique, put it on the map. It's a wonderful road stop off of I-5, but to give it some more economic boost to bring in more economy and so forth. So that's a big thing for me. I think we have some beautiful recreational spots. And I agree the housing situation is a big deal. Moving here, it was very hard to find a home. And I know a lot of people are dealing with the same issue of being able to afford their homes and so forth as well.
Thank you.
Councilman Kay, question number 3 for.
If a developer comes in and presents a plan that you think is bad or is not compatible with the for the location, but technically meets the code, what would you do?
I think in this situation, a focus group would really come in hand. Kind of just because I think it's bad does not necessarily mean it's a bad plan. I would pull in people with expertise higher than mine to discuss what's good, what's bad, what could be done, how can we alter it to fit the needs of this community, and go from there.
All right. I got stuck with the same question again for some reason. If you were to be appointed, are you aware you have filing obligations, disclosing your economic interests annually, a 2-year ethics training course every 2 years, and monthly planning commission meetings that will take up to 2 hours?
Yes. I'm aware.
You're aware of all of it. All right. Thank you. Okay. Councilman Baker, question number 6. Oh, I read number 5. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So we're gonna skip to, I asked her number 5 already. So I'm sorry, I skipped one. Oh, did I ask number 4? Oh, I'm sorry. Guess I should take my glasses off so I can read.
Number 5.
Yeah, number 5. Sorry. Listen to them, not me.
So planning commission involves coming to decisions supported by the facts presented in the hearing and coming to a decision based on the evidence presented. How would you make a determination on complex land use issues during public hearings?
Well, one, I think it's very important to listen to the public. I think it's important to listen to the person that's concerned about certain land issues. And then experts as well. I think we need to listen to all voices in order to make decisions. And listen, actually actively listen to what people have to say, because it's, you can bring your own opinions and your own expertise to the table, but there are certain issues that have been brought up tonight that are affecting people that we may not be so aware of. So it's very important to listen to these issues so that we can address them.
Thank you.
All right. Councilman McCoy.
What do you believe you would enjoy or like about being on the planning commission?
Sure. I'm really excited to learn the process of being on the planning commission, learning how a city runs, how they make the decisions they make. What are the difficult situations? How does a team collaborate to make the decisions? I think the whole process will be an interesting learning experience, especially being newer to the city. I would love to get involved and just to make Yreka grow and be a place that more families can enjoy.
Thank you.
Councilman K, question number 7.
How many meetings have you attended in the last 12 months?
Sure. So I'm very fresh to Yreka. I actually just found out about the planning commission. So this is my first one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chris Lazaris.
Right.
Good evening, sir.
Evening.
Okay. Question number 1, I'll go to Councilman K.
Why do you want to serve on the planning commission, and what do you view as the duties of the planning commission?
Well, I want to serve on the planning commission because I'm retired, need something to do. I've actually spent 10 years on the Siskiyou County Planning Commission representing Yreka. So I have the experience to do that. I view our duties basically as almost a go-between between the public and the planning commission to make sure those decisions that the planning commission is making and work with the public.
All right. Okay. Councilman McCoy, question number 2.
Again, two-pronged question. Though you may be passionate about a particular land use matter, can you apply the law and codes presented to you in evaluating a project? And then on top of that, when it comes to land matters, do you have any personal item you're interested in?
Generally, I can apply law and the codes. I've done that with the planning commission for years. I've had to go through the CEQA process and do that type of information. I'm very familiar with that. When it comes to land matters, I'm most interested in development of the Yreka community. Specifically, I'd like to see more single-family residents developed, and especially in the smaller lots and some small community for retirement community type of homes, like we see up on Green Heron, another subdivision like that, where there's small lots, easily maintained and great for the retirement community, because this is a perfect spot for it. I know, that's why I'm here.
Thank you.
I'm change it up. I'll go to number 3. Okay. If a developer comes in and presents a plan that you think is bad or is not compatible for the location, but technically meets the code, what would you do?
If it technically meets the code, I would approve the plan. If the plan commission's gone through it, they've seen the technical items that need to be done. If that has been met, it meets the city code, you approve that plan.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Councilman Baker, question number 4.
If you were to be appointed, are you aware that you have filing obligations disclosing your economic interest annually? 2-hour ethics training course every 2 years, and monthly planning commission meetings that can take up to 2 hours.
Yes, I have filed that financial disclosure statement 10 times. I almost got fined one time for not getting it in time. So I've been through that, and I have taken the ethics training course through the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you.
and I can take it again. I'm retired.
Councilman Kate, question
Okay.
number 5.
Number 5. Planning Commission involves coming to a decision supported by facts presented by in the hearing and coming to a decision based on the evidence presented. How would you make the determination on a complex land use issues during public hearings?
I would very simply, I take in the information that is given from the planning department, from the public, and we look at those decisions. Probably the largest project I worked on when I was on the county was with the cogeneration plant in Weed. And we had numerous public hearings at those meetings. In fact, we had a public hearing at the Miners Inn Convention Center. So I've been able to look at those type of projects, see what's best for the community and determine those values.
Hand it off.
Oops.
I apologize to you, sir.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you.
Unknown caller.
All right.
Been there, done that.
I apologize to council, audience, and to you, Mr. Lazares.
It was my fault. I forgot to say something. It's your
Well, I
cell
had it
phone.
off. I turned it off, so I obviously turned it back. on.
Question number 6. Councilman McCoy.
What do you believe you would like or enjoy about being on the planning commission?
I would like to be part of helping White Creek become a better community. It's something I'd like to do. I did it on the county. I enjoyed it when I did it. I stayed on it for 10 years through 2 different supervisors. And I think I could be a real help with the city because I have that experience.
Thank you.
And Councilman Baker, question number 7.
Thank you. How many planning commission meetings have you attended within the last 12 months?
This would be number 1.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay, that conducts the. What does it mean? Is this Mr. Jared?
Yes, so at this point, this is an item on the agenda. Public comment can be taken on,
Okay.
should be taken on this, and that would be the appropriate time.
Any public questions or comments at this time for our candidates for the planning commission? Okay. Nobody has any comments or questions, so I'll close public comment.
At this point, it would be up to the council to make a decision. You can deliberate, or you can move straight to the vote. And again, the recommendation is to take the ballots before you, select top 2 candidates. If there is one person after tabulating all of the votes, if there is one person that has 3 votes or more, then that person would win the seat. If there are 2 people that have 3 votes or more, then it would go to a runoff amongst by a second ballot with the 2 highest vote getters.
Okay. Any questions, Councilman McCoy?
Clarify, 4 of us here, how do 2 people get 3 votes? Clarify that for me mathematically, it's mathematically impossible.
I guess at this point, if you guys do end up in a 2-2 out of the 3 people you can choose from, then we can circle back around and have a discussion there by omitting one that got no votes. But ultimately, I think if you'll just, each of you gets 1 vote on the paper ballot, I will collect that. I will then announce your vote and then we can go on from there if that's okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So
You're
we're
welcome.
just marking.
One or 2?
What?
Yeah, just
Oh,
one. You just get
okay.
1 vote on your sheet.
So are you ready just to move forward with the vote? Sounds like, okay. People are fast here.
a secret ballot
Yeah.
for a minute.
So we have a 3-1, it looks like, and so I'm just gonna go through the roll call here, but we have Mayor Middleton has voted for Mr. Lazarus. We have Council Member Baker has voted for Don Mariatri. Council Member McCoy has voted for Don Mariatri. And Council Member Keg has voted for Don Mariatri, so we have a 3-1 for Don Mariatri.
So the motion passes and she is appointed to our planning commission. Congratulations. Okay. So that's
Yeah, you're in for it.
you're in for the long haul.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, thank you for the other candidates for their interest. We really appreciate it. And it takes citizens like you stepping forward, and we really appreciate it. Okay. So yeah.
Very good candidates.
So okay. So 9B, this is Emily Aldridge. So this is the titled the wastewater utility rate study. Paul Reuter of Pace Engineering will present the city's 24-2028 wastewater utility rate study.
Good evening, council. Before you today is our water and wastewater utility rate study. The city engaged Pace Engineering to review the city's utility rates. The rate review was conducted to determine if the current rate structure can provide the revenues needed to allow the city to recover the total cost of water and wastewater enterprises from existing and future customers. Costs that were reviewed included cost of operation and maintenance, debt service, normal additions and replacements to the system, administrative cost, and capital. The scope of the study includes a review and analysis of the operation of the city's water and wastewater enterprises, the historic expenditures and revenues, the proposed systems capital improvement plans, and projected future revenue requirements. This evening, Mr. Paul Reuter, President, Managing Engineer for Pace Engineering, will be presenting findings from this study and is available for questions. So I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Reuter.
Good evening, council members. Thanks for having me. Paul Reuter, Pace Engineering. You guys all saw the 25-page document in your agenda. I apologize for that. But I'm going to give a quick presentation that kind of just touches the highlights here tonight. And how do I toggle slides? Can I do that? Okay, I can live with that. I can live with that. So first, we're going to kind of go through, I've got about 5 slides on the water enterprise fund and then about 5 or 6 slides on the sewer enterprise fund. Not presenting any new information to you guys. It's just kind of a summary of what you have in the packet. So pertaining to the water fund, just kind of reviewing the last 5 years. The average inflation on expenses in the city's water fund was about 9.3% per year. For a few years there, it tracked pretty closely to what we were seeing nationally and in California. The city's been really successful in acquiring capital grants for replacing capital infrastructure. In the last few years, it's received almost $14 million in grants for 3 specific projects: the East Lennox Pipeline Project, Highway 3 improvements, and water supply and storage project. So the city's been really diligent and successful with that. Currently, city staff's working on trying to get about 60 million potentially between 2 big projects. We'll see how that plays out, but the state still claims they're flush with funding. And so the city's doing its part to try to get a piece of that. In terms of the water fund financial goals, number 1, of course, the city is going to continue to pursue grants. Those are very important because the funding capital replacement has a big impact on your water rates. And the city's infrastructure, a lot of it is still 80, 90, 100 years old. And it's millions of dollars to replace that infrastructure. There's no possible way that your rate base could fund that. So getting those grants is a huge deal. With that, over the next 5 years, the city intends to self-fund about $3 million worth of capital improvements. But that leaves a little over 3 left that are not currently scheduled to be self-funded. So the city will look for other means to try to fund those improvements through grants, et cetera. The reason we didn't try to incorporate that into this financial plan is it would just push the water rates too high. So we held some back. Another important aspect is to maintain capital improvement reserves. The city is pretty good shape on the reserve side, but what you don't want to do is spend that reserve down over 5 years and then have to start from scratch and build back up. The city got a little behind the 8 ball in 2013 when the rates were not adopted. And so to some degree, the city's playing a little catch up now, but I think it's in pretty good financial shape going forward, but you're still feeling the effects of that. The proposed rates are going to be 9.6% per year. The bottom slide there. So if we go to the next slide is just a summary of a more detailed table in your packet. And so how this works is if you look at the first column, it says budgeted 2022-23 test year. At the top, that 4.4 million, that's what you began last fiscal year with unrestricted cash balance. And so the concept is if you go down that column, you add revenue to that balance, you subtract expenses, you subtract debt, you subtract capital projects, and then you end with a balance at the bottom. So as you can see in 22-23, the city spent roughly 700,000 or so down in that reserve. So then that becomes the beginning balance for the next year, 23-24. Those are your unrestricted cash balances. And then as you work your way down the table, same approach, add revenue, subtract expenses, debt, and capital project funding, you have an ending balance. As you can see, as we go along here over the 5-year period, you can see that unrestricted cash reserve balance going down, taking some hits. There's some planned capital project, self-funded projects that are scheduled in there. And that's kind of the purpose of that capital reserve, is to fund capital projects. So you can kind of see it dipping down, but by the end of year 5, which is 27-28, it's up to about 3.4 million. So it's roughly about 350,000 less than what we're starting with. And so we felt as a rate committee that was acceptable. One thing I added to this too, that is very important, is the bottom row is the debt coverage ratio. And so what that is that's essentially looks at the ratio of your net cash. So take your revenue minus expenses, whatever that number is, divided by your debt. You want that to be about 20% more than your available cash. So similar to going to a bank and getting a mortgage, they don't want you to spend all your disposable cash on your mortgage payment. They want you to have some kind of percentage excess cash, in your savings account or checking account to be able to live and make that mortgage payment. So it's a similar concept here. And most of the loans that the city has with public agencies like USDA Rural Development and the State Revolving Fund, they usually have debt coverage ratios of 1.1 to 1.2 as a minimum requirement. And so I showed 1.2 there, but as you can see, in these early years of the plan, you're not hitting that 1.2, you're less than that. But as you get into year 2, into year 3, you're going to start hitting that and get in a better financial position there. So that's definitely a driving factor here for trying to get the rates up to meet those debt obligations. So let's go next slide. This is just a summary of what the rates would look like. The first column there, those are the city's current rates. So at the top of the table is the consumption rate. So it's $2.26 per 1,000 gallons. And we should probably just show the 226 one time instead of showing 4 columns. But historically, that's the way the city's rates were structured. They had an increasing tiered structure. So to not create a lot of confusion with your ratepayers, we're just showing the same number for each of those tiers that maybe your ratepayers are familiar with. And then at the bottom half of the table, those are the meter rates for the various sizes. And it starts, current year goes 23, 24, all the way to 27, 28 for the various meter sizes in the city. So where does that stack up against other communities? Let's go next slide. So this is a bar graph that shows what the city's current water rate is relative to other agencies that either I'm familiar with or we're able to get data on current rates. So most of the rates you see there are fiscal year 22, 23, which obviously is the prior year. But the red bar there is the city's current water rate based on an average monthly water use compared to these other agencies. And so, at the far left of the bar graph, you got City of Reading, and then going across is Centerville, which is outside the City of Reading, and City of Weed, Mountain Gate, McLeod, there's Yreka. And then the next, the candy cane bar, that's what a 1 year increase would look like relative to the other rates. And I could have added what a 27, 28 would look like, but with the other eight, I don't have those rates for the other agencies. So it really kind of skews things, but at least that shows you where your current rates are relative to other agencies, and then a 1 year increase. And then going across, you've got City Shasta Lake, Clear Creek CSD, which is outside Reading, Dunsmuir, Bella Vista Water District. The kind of the yellowish orange bar, that's the average water rate in California for year 2022, according to the World Population Review. So they, almost like US Census, they take statistics and do surveys and stuff, but the average in 2022 was about $77 a month. And so moving across, you got Oroville, Ashland, and Shasta CSD. So it just kind of gives you perspective on where the city's rates are relative to other agencies. We talk about numbers, but until you know where you stand compared to others, it doesn't mean much. Any questions on the water before we step into sewer? Yeah, tiptoe in the sewer with waiters, maybe. Okay, let's go next slide. So similar with the sewer enterprise fund, inflation. Now this is inflation on the expenditures within the city fund that we're actually experiencing. We're about 8.4% per year. The city's been successful with obtaining grants for wastewater projects too, about 5.5 million in the last few years. It's working on the wastewater collection system, which is kind of North Yreka area. You guys have probably seen all the work going on up there. And the city's also working on some big projects, almost 40 or a little over 48 million worth for the wastewater treatment plant and the Yreka Creek sewer improvements project, which is a big one and would tackle several of the old mains that reside in and around Yreka Creek. So that would be a good one if the city can be successful in getting that funding. Next slide. Financial plan goals, keep after those grants as always. Over the next 5 years, the city intends to fund about 840,000 in capital projects, leaving about a little over 4 million in capital projects that aren't built into the financial plan at this point. And the reason is because we're still kind of pursuing grants for those. We didn't really want to schedule those, not knowing the grant climate. But I think if they don't pan out, I think there's probably money in reserve that we could tackle at least a portion of that 4.2. We just weren't really willing to obligate it yet. Obviously, maintain capital improvements reserve over 5 years, just like the water fund. And then the proposed wastewater rate is 9.5% over 5 years. So let's go next slide. So this is the similar table, works just like the water fund. You start with unrestricted cash at the top, add revenues, subtract expenses, and you have ending cash at the bottom. And so you work your way across from left to right. And as you can see, the unrestricted cash balance grows in the sewer fund or the wastewater fund more than the water fund by about 2 million or so, but we still have that 4 million of unscheduled work sitting there that we could consume that easily. So we're just kind of sitting on that. The debt coverage ratios looks a little better, at least in 22, 23, but it does dip down this fiscal year and then starts to work its way back up, and about year 3, you're above the 1.2. So again, like the water fund, it's important to get the revenue up so you're meeting those debt obligations to the lenders that you have. Let's go next slide. Just a summary of the wastewater rates. You guys have seen a similar table before, because in the single family rates, the low income or lifeline rates and multifamily non-residential. I think it was either 2013 or 18, I can't remember now. The city went to more of a kind of a flow-based sewer rate, as opposed to, it used to have kind of this empirical rate that counted fixture units, and it was really nebulous, and it created a lot of disparity with the rate. So this kind of simplifies that, and I think this is about year 10 or something that the city's been on that. Okay, next slide. So similar to the water fund, we plotted the city sewer rate relative to other agencies. The red bar is the city of Yreka current fiscal or last fiscal year 22-23. And far left there, you've got Weed, and you've got you guys, and then Cottonwood, and then the next Candy Cane. That's the first year increase for Yreka. And then McLeod, Redding, Mount Shasta, Dunsmuir, Shasta Lake, American Valley, CSD, Calusa, Williams. So you can kind of see where you guys stack up against some of these other agencies. And that's my last slide, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Council members, do you have any questions at this time? No. So public comment, go to public comment. Yep. Just want to make sure. Messed up last time. Public comment, any public comment or questions?
I am Steve Radford. I think we all know that the California or the United States government is printing money out of space. And, you know, where did this grant thing come from? When did that start? Sorry, I didn't, you know, attend very many meetings in my career. I was busy doing my job as a general contractor, but somewhere along the line, this grant thing started. And it used to be cities took care of themselves, and the city would give money to the county, the county, and the county would give money to the state. The state would give that money back at a percentage like about 78%. But now they don't do that. And now you have to qualify for a grant to get your money back. That's BS. I'm proposing that we stand together with other cities and counties and start taking our government back, because California is corrupting our cities. We can't afford to take care of ourselves anymore because they are not giving us the money back that we give to them. So I'm saying that we start not sending money to the state, because the cities develop the counties develop the state. The state is not in charge of the counties as the way our forefathers founded this country. The communities develop the cities develop the counties develop the state. So the state does not dictate to the cities or the counties what's going to happen. The cities and the counties dictate to the state. They've turned that around, and it's up to us to take it back. These grants are just pie in the sky money. It's printed out of thin air. We don't have that kind of money. You hear it every day how broke the California is. But where is this money coming from? You know, we used to take care of ourselves back in the day, and eventually it will come back to that, because the rest of it is all corruption. There's no truth in what's going on here today. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'll close public comments for questions at this time, and then okay, so the recommended city council actions, this discussion and possible direction to staff to bring back the city of Yreka water and wastewater utility rate study for adoption at a future council meeting.
Yes, so Mr. Mayor, this is the city manager, Jason Ledbetter. Ultimately, what would happen now is that you guys would, the council would determine to give us direction to come back at a future meeting. Intermittently, the rate study itself would go off to Andrew Jared, the attorney, and his team to review. And then ultimately, we can't guarantee you that we will be back here in 2 weeks. It may be October 3rd. So if you could just generally give direction to bring the item back.
Okay, what are the wishes of the council?
Well, the finance committee has looked at this, Councilwoman Baker and myself, and in order to provide adequate services over the next few years to the people of Yreka, that is who we are ultimately responsible to as far as water and sewer. We do have to make some changes because things are going up. And so the finance committee had made the recommendation. So I'm gonna go based on that we, Mr. Mayor, that we go ahead and direct the city manager to move forward with this along with the Miss Aldrich.
Is that okay with everybody else to bring it back when possible for review after attorney looks at it and is possible for discussion or approval, I should say. All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Emily, for your hard work as well. Okay. So we are at 9C. This is Human Resources Director. This is item number C. This is title Introduction of Proposed Ordinance 875 of the City Council of the City of Yreka, amending Chapter 2.10 Employee Personnel System and Chapter 2.50 Nepotism. City staff has been working on revising the city's personal policies and city's municipal code related to employment practices. After completing the meet and confer process, staff has proposed revisions to the city's municipal code to update Chapter 2.10 Employee Personnel System and Chapter 2.50 of the 2.50 Nepotism. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is John Elsnab. I'm the HR director for the city. So to give some background, as Mr. Mayor Middleton mentioned, historically, the city's municipal code has retained language in Chapter 2.10 Employee Personnel System and Chapter 2.50 Nepotism that assisted with providing direction and a uniform procedure for addressing personnel-related matters outside of the city's personnel rules. The current municipal code also contains many sections within the employee personnel system chapter that are outdated and contain duplicate language that is superseded by a memorandum of understanding, MOU, or a resolution with an employee bargaining group. Some of the ordinances that in the municipal code reference language from 1972 and currently need to be amended to align with state and federal laws. And then furthermore, since October 2021, staff has been working on revising the city's personnel policies, consisting primarily of Resolution 1151 and Resolution 2371, as well as the municipal code related to employment practices. After completing the meet and confer process with the recognized employee bargaining groups, which include the Yreka Employees Association, YEA, YPOA, which is the peace officers, and the management team, staff has proposed revisions to the city's municipal code, as which I mentioned primarily consist of duplicate language. You'll see there's a list that we revised for chapter 2.10 and Chapter 2.50, which is the personnel system and nepotism, which a lot of that will be transitioned over to the personnel rules. And recommended action would be to accept the revised municipal code with the personnel rules following.
All right. Do you have any questions or comments from City Council? All right. Any questions or comments from staff? I mean, I'm sorry, the public. Okay, I will close the public comments. I will go. So the recommend City Council action before you is consider, discuss, and move to introduce ordinance number 875, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Yreka, California, amending Chapter 2.10 to the Yreka Municipal Code entitled Employee Personnel System and Chapter 2.50 nepotism, and finding the ordinance exempt from CEQA, and pass ordinance to the next city meeting for a second reading and possible adoption. Is that okay with the council to move forward to?
So move.
Okay,
I'll second the motion.
okay. Did we do the motion as direction? Was it a motion? Okay, all right, sorry. Okay, I will have a first from Councilman Cake, second from Baker. I will go for roll call. Councilman Cake,
Aye.
Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Councilman McCoy,
Aye.
and I will be aye. Motion passes 4-0. All right. And you're still standing, so well, it looks like you're next again. So this is a title for the employee personal policies and procedures.
Absolutely. So this next report aligns with the municipal code revisions, which is the personnel policies. And basically those resolutions I mentioned, resolution 1151, 2024, 2371, we've wrapped those into one document that's been modernized and updated, which is what's being proposed tonight. And just to give you a little bit of background, it is similar to the municipal code audit, but we've been working on this since October 2021. We've completed the meet and confer process with all the recognized groups. The amended rules are intended to replace the current rules in order to implement a comprehensive policy manual for employees, officials, volunteers to follow personnel related matters. Following adoption of the revised personnel policies and procedure manuals, this is a big one. Resolution 1151, 2024, and 2371 will be superseded and no longer applicable. And as you'll see, we've revised these rules. We went from a 20-page document to about 104. There's 12 different chapters ranging everything from introduction and general information of rules, equal employment, harassment, substance abuse, all the way down to telework and chapters like that. So with that, the recommended action would be to adopt 2023-44 by the City Council of the City of Yreka, adopting the revised personnel policy and procedure manual.
Okay, thank you, John. Do you have any questions or comments from council members? Any questions or questions?
I would just like to thank you and the other city staff that worked on this. I know this was a huge project for you guys, and so thank you for the good work.
Absolutely. We appreciate it. And just I was going to wait for the end, but a special thanks to Retta Hogan, Renee Hoisington, Michael Jarvis, and Ron Copeland from UPEC, and all the other people that helped during the meet and confer process.
Any other questions or council or?
Yeah, I would
comments from
just,
council?
I'm gonna ditto what Councilwoman Baker said, and I want to thank you, Mr. Elsnab. I know that you have a team and you will thank them for us, but we appreciate all you've done, and I know you've had a lot on your plate. And I've had to do this for 30 years through education. It was a daily, weekly thing to keep it updated. So thank you very much, Mr. Elsnab.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the public? Okay, so the recommended city council action before you is the motion to adopt resolution 2023-44 of the Yreka City Council of the City of Yreka, adopting the revised personal policies and procedure manual. What are the wishes of the council?
This is Councilman McCoy. So moved.
I have a motion from Councilman McCoy.
I'll second the motion.
I have a second from Councilman Baker. I'll take roll call. Councilman Cake,
Aye.
Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Councilman McCoy,
Aye.
and I, Middleton. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you so much for
Thank
everything.
you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So we will go to item 10, the city manager and staff reports. City manager and staff may make brief announcements or reports at this time. Mr. Ledbetter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Yreka City Council. This is Jason Ledbetter, the city manager for the city of Yreka. I have just a brief staff report. So our new planning manager, Alia Roca Lesra, started today. This is her first day with the city. This is going to add capacity that will help with the organizing of the building and planning department projects and facilitate our general plan completion over the coming 24 months. We will be investigating the possibility of some larger economic development projects that will help with the city as well, freeing up Juliana's time in order to accommodate some of these larger ideas and projects that we have around economic development. The city currently is advertising for hiring the OES resiliency officer position and a clerk position. Both of those opportunities are on our website. This will also increase our desired capacity here in the admin office for staff. We had a kickoff meeting on 8/24 with the new virtual webmaster who will be helping the city maximize use of its website and communicate more effectively with the public. Assistant city manager and I met with the fire chief and have scheduled regular meetings to continue to plan and create educational material for the public on a new fire hall project and the possibility of adding some paid fire staff in the future. I attended the comms ad hoc meeting on Tuesday, August 29th. We discussed the improvements with the city website. In the future improvements we are working toward with the virtual webmaster, we'll be looking at possibly adding more utility bill mailers to get info out to the public. As we make the improvements to our website and possibly add many educational videos in the future to that website. But in the interim, we came up with the idea to inform the public through the utility bill with added mailers. So at the next ad hoc meeting, I'll be bringing a mailer for review. On 8/30, I attended the Siskiyou Climate Collaborative reception in Dunsmuir put on by the Siskiyou Economic Development Council. It's a $1.5 million planning grant, essentially, that hopefully the EDC can work into an actual project, such as some type of power independence or cogen facility is what I am advocating for. On 8/31, I met with the executive director of the YMCA, Scott Eastman, to discuss a fencing project around the YMCA. I think Donna Bacigalupi is still here. And so I will give Donna a call because we see some overlap with an opportunity for some fencing around the cemetery and how the city may be able to at least help facilitate a match for a grant opportunity there with the cemetery in conjunction with the YMCA. So Donna, I see I'll give you a call tomorrow about your concerns as well from the podium today. That's all I have.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Ledbetter. Okay, I will go to council members. Unless anybody up there wants up in the nosebleeds up there, they want to come down, speak. All right, guys, thank you. I'll go to council members. Councilman Baker, I'll go to you first.
Oh, thank you, Mayor
Reports
Middleton.
are-
I attended the communications ad hoc committee meeting on August 29th. I was not able to attend the meeting on the 25th of the C2C. I just want to thank all the applicants for the planning commission position. We had some excellent applicants, and I would like to congratulate Miss Autry on her appointment. And I just have to say that I am so impressed with Miss Autry that she is present at all of the meetings. And so I think that I'm hoping that her addition to the planning commission is going to be she's just going to be sitting in a different seat.
Yeah.
Since she keeps up on everything that's going on. And on a personal note, I was really sorry that Jimmy Buffett died. I spent Sunday listening to all my old favorites, and it was quite a loss. So with that, that's it.
All right. Councilman McCaig.
I just want to add to that too on the planning commission. I just want to thank everybody. Oops, last one out the door. I was just going to thank her also for applying because I like to see enthusiastic new people in the community wanting to get involved. So I thought that was great. It's too bad she didn't stick around for a little longer. But it takes a lot of people to come together and all different diversities of people. And so it's neat to see somebody that's lived the lifestyle that she has. And if you read, you know, her application, where she's been and what she's done, she's been in a lot of different places and seen a lot of different things. So it's neat that she wanted to bring that to Yreka and just share her experiences and what she's seen and stuff. So I just want to thank, and then obviously I want to thank Don Marie for stepping up to the plate and finally getting that appointment. So congratulations. We have a meeting tomorrow, a homeless meeting tomorrow over at the Behavioral Health, the Red Oak Room at 1:30. If anybody wants to be there, it's not a lot on the agenda this time, but we will have some stories there. What else did I want to talk about? I can't remember. I guess that's it. I'll just keep it short and sweet. Can't think of much else. So thank you.
All right. Councilman McCoy.
I want to congratulate Don Autry again on her appointment. You have been a big supporter of the city council and the planning commission. Doesn't mean we're always in agreement. You've always been there, and we appreciate that. We appreciate your driving force. So I'm glad you're going to be there. I want to remind everybody that a week from yesterday will be 9/11. So I know for me, it's a somber occasion. I've traveled twice to the museum at the World Trade Center, and the longest I've been able to stay in the museum is 2 hours. After that, it's too overwhelming. So, you know, we want to remember there were a lot of people, you know, in 3 different states that, well, 2 different states in the District of Columbia that lost their life that day. And then I do want to ask this council's indulgence in seeing if we can get a code of conduct training going, since we do have 3 members that have not been able to have the preliminary training through California cities, and we need to get a code of conduct training going. So I'm going to ask your indulgence in that, city council people. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilman McCoy. Let's see here. I'm just trying to think if I have anything. I did not make the ad hoc because I made a boo-boo in my calendar. So that was my mistake. Sorry, I missed it. That was my error on my calendar and my thumbs. But let's see. No meetings I attended. I did volunteer out at the fair, and it was nice to see everybody out there. And I think everybody jinxed everything because they were saying how clear and beautiful it was all summer with no smoke. And then 3 days later, we got hit with fires and the smoke came in. So that was a bummer. But I did volunteer for a nonprofit out there, and so I did that. And I don't think I have anything else to report. I don't think I have any other meetings. I met with Jason today. We went over our Friday meeting. We met today. I didn't go in on Friday because other obligations, but we met and we have a lot going on. So definitely, and I added more things to the plate, I think. Maybe not, a couple of things, ideas. But yeah, it's hard to believe we're moving right into fall soon, and our weather's sure changing out there, and it's crazy how fast the time goes. And then I guess to follow up with Mr. McCoy's request to just see when everybody will be available. I know everybody's busy in August. As a circle back to see when, if Andrew's had time to read our code of conduct and go back to meet again, hopefully before the end of the year. All right. And I think that's it. With that said, I will adjourn the meeting, and everybody have a good evening. Thank you for coming.